Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob. And this video we're going to show the progress of the parts that everybody requested. And we're going to explain everything that I've done and how this is coming about. We got the Pro 30. And I was going to get the 357, but I was tired of waiting. I wasn't going to wait no longer. So I just went ahead and opted for the 30, which I already have a 357. I mean, I already have a 30 cal too, but I just believe that the 30 cal is probably a little better than the 357 simply because it's it's the best in between gun between 25 and 357 or 357. They shoot straighter, longer because it's a lighter pellet, and so I just decided to go ahead with the 30 anyway. But anyway, long story short, I got the Pro, and I'll show it to you here. Alright, this is the Pro 30 cal. This is not a review. This is just showing you guys what I've done to get where I'm at right now. As everybody knows, this does not come with a cheek rest. It doesn't come with a rubber butt pad. You hear it rattling? We'll get to that. I left that rattle in there on purpose. So, we made the cheek rest, and I've ordered a rubber butt pad to put on this and hope it fits. I don't know if it's going to fit or not, but we'll find out. I also made the barrel band. This one is basically the same thing as the 30 plus. The only difference is I had to change the top part of it because the tank is the same as the 30 plus. And I added a Picatinny rail, and I also made them a little shorter so they didn't look so big and fat and ugly. To me, it's just too bulky. It could stand to be a little smaller, or shorter, but I wanted to have at least 3 rails on the Picatinny rail, and this may still yet be too short. I don't know. I'm probably never going to use it, but some of you guys may. I used the rail on the bottom for my bipod, and it's best to have this thing out there about like that right there and at an angle. If you go straight down and you try to use it, it balances it too good. I like a little weight in the front of my gun when I'm on a tripod, so I just go over to the next setting and bring it out a little bit further, about 2 notches, and that's how I shoot right there. That brings the forward, or the pivot point forward on the gun. So then I made an adapter. The original adapter, I'll get it out here and show you. Should have already had it out, huh? Sure didn't have my shit together, did I? This is the original adapter that centers the barrel band. The barrel shroud. And yes, it does have a shroud on it. It's very thin inside there as far as play, but there is some side-to-side motion, back and forth. So it requires a step-down boss to go on, and this rides inside the shroud to center it so it stays straight. Well, I went to take this off and put my suppressor on there, and yes, it did tighten it up, but it was going to affect my accuracy because it would move some back and forth. We don't want that. So I went and made a new adapter that looks exactly like this, except it's shorter, so that I can thread this on and then also be able to thread my suppressor on it. And believe me, with this gun, you need a suppressor. It is not backyard friendly. I can promise you that. So now I have threads, enough threads to thread on my suppressor. So, and then I went and put that stuff on my suppressor, and that looks pretty good. That's that Air Mega suppressor I built out of a air compressor filter. And it works really nice too, man. I was actually impressed at how good that thing silences this gun. Alright, so now let's start with the buttstock. So let me position you here in a little better place. I don't have a whole lot of room here to move my gun closer to you, but I could take it off and show you. Why don't I do that? Let me take it off and we'll show you. Alright, so we've got it off, and this is the buttstock that comes just with the aluminum. Now, it's got a row of screw holes right here that was threaded for a really tiny screw. It should have been tapped a little bit bigger than what it had. Excuse me. And I didn't have that size screw, and to be honest with you, it was too small a screw to begin with. It should have been 1020 or 1032 to start with. So I drilled them out and rethreaded each and every one of them. And that also, because I use 1032 set screws on all my barrel bands, I kind of wanted to keep everything the same so that I can use the same set screws on this to tighten it against the tube. So basically I just put in the last hole a screw for this, made this slot, and then I made a slot about the 4th hole, and then on the 5th hole or 6th hole I have a set screw. They're out right now, but once they're in, they'll be level with this. So once you get this located where you want on the buffer tube, you just put them set screws in on both sides, because you got one on each side. And I also made a slot so that this will bypass the set screw and not interfere with it. And you can still loosen it with the cheek rest on it. Now we have a few issues with it right now, and you can't see it from here, but you get real close to it and it's got this prints. Let's imagine that the buttstock's not on it. This prints on the bed just like that. That's the easiest way with the less support. Now I didn't put any supports in here simply because they make a mess just as much as they do without. But we're going to try it with supports. I haven't done that. This is the first one. This one here is going to be mine, and it don't really matter to me because I'll just take a little file and file that out, and it'll look just fine. It'll look like it was never done. But for you guys, we'll do a little different job. And I still have to blue the washers, and so they're not shiny. And that takes care of this. So I'm really happy with the gun, but here was one of my biggest problems. On the scope, let me get this. I couldn't put my scope on it, and I like low. In fact, it could stand to be a little bit shorter, because the closer you get the center of your scope to the center of the barrel, the better you're going to be able to shoot. So, and the further you can shoot. The ideal place would be to have the scope in the center of the barrel. That ain't never going to happen. But in order for me to use this, I had to cut that much off of my Picatinny rail. I was not happy about that. I didn't want to have to do that. But I got to thinking about it. What was the purpose of having this hang out there like that? As you can see, it's bent right there. And I tried to put the scope on it, and it was hitting right here and wouldn't allow my scope to go down, and this is where I need my scope. So I had to cut this much off of it. And I'll use this for something else somewhere down the line, I hope. I may not be able to. It's got that thin groove in it all the way, so I may not be able to use that for anything ever. But anyway, and it's also tapered. Yeah, it's pretty much junk. But there's no real reason for putting that Picatinny rail that far up there like that. Simply because you're going to have a scope there. What are you going to put on it? Nothing. It's wasted material. They wasted that much aluminum to make this Picatinny rail. So I ended up having to cut that much off. And then I just took a Sharpie and cleaned up the end that looked like that. And I'm telling you, this is a shooter, man. Hole on hole. Of course, I have to re-sight it now because I just got finished putting the barrel band on it. And when you move your barrel, you might as well just figure you're going to be re-sighting it again. So now we're going to put this back on there. And as you can see, you have a rattle. Alright? We don't want that. So, my set screws will tighten down on both sides. Now the only rattle I have is this part right here. The hinge. The hinge is where it's rattling, right there. So we're going to try to take care of that also. I've had one other person ask me about making a solid adapter that does not fold. He's like me. He doesn't like that folding stock. I don't see any purpose in that. The only reason you'd need that is if you needed to hide your gun, and if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you need to hide your gun? That's my personal opinion. So, I mean, I'd want people to see that I have a gun, because then that means that's going to deter them from messing with me. But the other problem I had with this stock is every single time before I put this cheek rest on there, every single time I went to shoot this, I ripped a freaking beard hair out. Every single time. I shot this thing 3 times, ripped out several hairs because the hairs kept getting caught in between the buffer tube and the holes on the stock. So that's why I'm making this cheek rest. And if anybody out there got the pro that's got a beard knows exactly what I'm talking about, because there's no way you're shooting this without ripping hairs out. And if you're like me, I don't like my hair being pulled, especially ripped out. So we're going to try to work on this here. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're going to try to turn something on the lathe that will replace the folding hinge. That is just an option for me, but if anybody else is interested in it, and if it's not too hard to deal with as far as making it, if it's too complicated and too aggravating, I'm not going to do it. I can promise you that. I'll do my best to make this a simple job as possible, to make that piece and do away with the hinge. I do have the threader or the tap to thread this, so it is possible. I'll just have to turn it on the lathe, drill the 3 holes, countersink the 3 holes for the head of the screw, and then that will replace this one right here, the folding part. So this is going to be a pretty nice gun when I'm done with it. Like I said, I had some issues with it, but I have since then fixed the issues. And but I do want to say one thing. Although I like AEA guns, I like the way they shoot. I have to say this. They're getting a little stingy with their stuff. They're adding things you don't need, but taking away the things that you do need. You know, everybody knows that everybody wants to put a suppressor or moderator or LCD or whatever you want to call it on their rifle. With this adapter, you cannot. So in order for me to do this, you either have to contact somebody who makes one for it or make one yourself. And these weren't too bad to make, so I may make these and sell them, the shorter version, so that you can still use your barrel to thread on a suppressor, because it is the same threads. So all this is just to center the shroud and a thread protector. They should have made the threads a little bit longer, and put this is how that should have been made, right here, and then have another thread protector go on it. So now if I don't run my suppressor, I can take my suppressor off, which I don't see me ever running without it because this thing is loud. Then I could just thread this one, the original one, on in the opposite direction and make it a thread protector. So that's what this is going to be dedicated for now. Now that I have the smaller adapter. And let me show you that adapter so that you can see how it was made. I'll show you the purpose for that. The purpose is this shroud moves, or the barrel moves around in that. So if you was just to thread the suppressor on there, it's going to go flat against this, but there's still an option to move. So this is the new adapter that I made, and it only has, let's see, I think it's got 3 threads in it. Yeah, 3 threads, which is all you need. All you're doing is centering your shroud, the barrel to your shroud. So I don't have a way to oxidize them, so if I do make them, they're going to be silver. I like the silver anyway, but not everybody does. If you don't like it, paint it. If I make them, I may not. So I just put them on there finger tight. That's all you need, because all it is a centering device. Then I went and wrapped that with this stuff, which is for like fishing poles, grips. I've got several different sizes here. I've got the size for the tank. I think I have the right size for the tank. I may not. If I remember correctly, I may have gotten one size too small. But we'll find out. So that is where we're at on the parts for the Pro. And I think it's a sweet looking gun. It is a little heavy. But it's a good shooting gun. It's regulated, and I like it. This is a good one for my collection. So it is worthy of the Bison compliment. They just need to stop being stingy with stuff. You know, nobody wants a metal cheek or butt pad hitting your shoulder. So that can be fixed. Don't remember exactly what I paid for that. I think it was somewhere around about $12, $12.99 or something like that. And I'll show you a picture of that right now. And I'll put a link to it in the description. So these will be offered soon. Like I said, I'm working the bugs out right now. The barrel bands you still going to have to file to fit your gun, because I'm telling you, none of these tanks are going to be exactly the same. You file these to fit your gun. I get you just about there, and then you just about got to finish it. So unless you want to send me your gun for me to fit, you're just going to have to live with the fact that you have to do a little filing and sanding. So let's get a last look at this cheek rest. Like I said, the only issue I had is right here in those holes, and I may change those holes. I like the square holes. I like that look. If I would have done round holes, those wouldn't be there. So we're going to try support next and see how a support works on it. These holes turned out really nice. The top holes, because this was the part that was setting, if you guys are even in frame. This part here was the part that was laying on the bed. So this one needs sanded and filed in them holes across. So we'll see if I can find a file. I may not have one, but we'll find out. Now I gotta do some rounding. It's got sharp edges on it, and do it like I did my stocks. Sand it and then shoe polish it. Re-dye it, in other words. So there you have my take on some of the issues with the Pro. It's hard to believe that there's only 1.30 millimeters between the barrel shroud and the tank. That's not much. I have a short one here that didn't print all the way that I used to begin with, and you can see how thin that is in between it. But this one actually worked until I got my other one printed. It don't have a set screw on it because that's where it stopped. I ran out of filament, and telling you, I'm having a hard time keeping filament in. Everybody quit buying. So getting material in here is kind of almost impossible anymore. So anyway, I hope you guys like what I've done to this and see the work that has went into this. Now, well, we'll do that in another video. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a good one. Later.